You're listening
to the Bumbling Yeti Podcast.
Hey everyone, this is John at the Bumbling Yeti Podcast. This is episode 35. I have with me today a guy, very interesting guy. You see, if you're watching the video, you'll see in the background there's a golf course. And Dan, if you hold up one of your products in front of you, Dan is from. It's kind of on there, but
yeah,
I'll put some pictures up there. Yeah, but Dan Hershberg is the I don't know, your general manager, owner, proprietor.
Yeah, I guess I'm co-founder of Workhorse Brewing Company, general manager of the Workhorse Tour, and father of 2 young children in whatever order you want to put that together.
Perfect. Well, the last one's the most important out of all of them, so I do understand that. So I've been wanting to have Dan on here again. I'm always interested in things. This is more of a selfish podcast for me. I'm doing this so I can understand more about people and businesses and different things like that. So for those of you who know me, I used to compete a lot in golf, long drive stuff. I have my own golf company, things like that. And I didn't play for several years. This year I went back out, and the Workhorse Brewing Company is a place where I take my family a lot. We actually go there. The food there is great. The beer is great. The atmosphere is outstanding. So I went there one day and I saw a sign that said, Workhorse Tour. And it's kind of like a mini golf tour. And Dan, I'll let you talk a little bit more about it. But from my perspective, it's one of the greatest formats I've ever seen. So, it brings out some competitive, some of my competitive side. I do have some questions, and hopefully you can kind of, lay into a little bit of what's going to maybe change for next year, because I'm sure you got a ton of feedback, both good and bad.
Yes, sir.
But Dan, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you have 2 young kids and you got them to bed, and I appreciate you taking the time here. So,
happy to chat, John. Thanks again for having me. Appreciate the kind words and support of the brewery.
Right. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, you can tell me about whatever you want, right? So you can start with the beginning of your story. You can start your career, how you got to here, whatever you want to talk about. I'm open. We have no time limit. This is a great thing about it being my show. So we can.
It's a Pandora's box that you just opened, because this is our first time meeting, and I enjoy talking. So
I'm down. I like to listen.
Cool. So I'll give, I guess, the real kind of quick high level background, that we can kind of dive into each bucket depending on what interests you the most. So born and raised in Philly, I grew up in Mount Airy. My parents actually still live there. Went to Germantown Friends for high school, went to Cornell University undergrad, and then kind of followed my dream at that time, which was working in sports media. So I'd worked for the Phillies when I was in college for 3 years, the last year at Veterans Stadium, and then the first 2 years at Citizens Bank Park, and got my dream job when I graduated college, was working in studio production at ESPN. So I moved up to Bristol, Connecticut, didn't know anybody. Made $22,500 my first year working there. So really raking in bucks.
Living the dream. Living
the dream, man. But the work was great. Loved everything I did. Kind of rose up the ranks pretty quickly. But after 2 years, I think I just realized that, working in a corporate landscape was not going to be my cup of tea. Didn't, help that I was living in central Connecticut, working nights, weekends, holidays, with, a whole mess of guys. So wanted some more, work-life balance. And my father had actually been a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. Was there for 50 years, with most of the last couple of decades spent running his own center. And he'd kind of always imparted to me, if you can be your own boss in any format, it's a great way to go about your life. So I decided to basically put in my 2 weeks at ESPN and quit, and started a Philly sports apparel company called Philly Faithful. So was 24, moved in with my parents' childhood home, ended up growing that company, ran it for about 10 years. Technically, it still exists, but I don't really do anything with it. And did that until 16, 17. And that's when Workhorse kind of fell into my lap. Very random story, but basically I've told this on many virtual calls over the pandemic. Essentially, like all good businesses, this one started day drinking at a bachelor party. Was out with some college friends at my cousin's wedding, and it was 9 a.m. on a Friday morning, and you're drinking beers at a bachelor party. And one of the guys there had opened a very successful brewery called Rheingeist out in Cincinnati.
Okay.
And they're kind of like I guess the best way to describe it is they're more or less the unicorn of our industry. They're 9 years old. They're now the 24th or 25th largest brewery in the country.
Wow.
So just massive growth. Their owner really just planted a seed in my ear, as well as that as my uncle, who was the co-founder at the time, went out there, fell in love with the culture of craft beer, and decided to kind of roll with Workhorse. So that's how all that got started. And then obviously the tour is a whole separate animal. But again, this is your show. You tell me what you want to hear.
Yeah, no. So excuse me. I think, for me, some of the best stories and the best ideas come from those exact kind of situations, right? So I'm a constant, like, I kind of consider myself like a serial entrepreneur kind of. I have that mentality. Unfortunately, I didn't take that. I had kids when I was really young. I mean, my kids, I'm 42. My oldest daughter is going to be 19 in like 2 weeks, or 18 in 2 weeks. My youngest is 16. Right. So I went through the whole having kids thing when I was really young and like super poor. Now I'm just like poor and have older kids. But it's interesting. One of the other reasons I did want to have you on here is because when, I grew up in manufacturing. So right there on Church Road, John Middleton, I worked there. That's where I started my career. Sure. And John Middleton, obviously the guy who owns the Phillies, and super great family, super nice people, by the way. And you would never know walking down the street, if you looked at him, you would never think he's a multi-billionaire, because that's the way he's always been to me. So, but you have a very unique brewery, right? So you can see the entire production facility. Yep. From where you're eating, in the tap room, and it really is a great. And I'm not bullshitting you. Like, I go there a lot, and it's interesting because I'm not like a craft beer guy. I'm like a Miller Lite guy. That's what I've always drank.
Sure.
But I can go there and I can get the flights. I can try different things, and those slushies in the summertime are on point, buddy.
They're great.
Yeah.
Dirty little secret too, I should tell you, is that I'm actually not a craft beer guy either.
Okay.
Ironically enough, so we're in the same boat. I always have a 6-pack of High Life in my fridge.
Right.
Never dreamed of opening a craft brewery. Frankly, I don't even know how the beer gets made. It's just not my job there.
Hey, look.
Yeah. So
someone has to come up with it, right? So someone has to provide the money, and someone has to at least take that leap, right? And that's something that you did, and the culture and all that other kind of stuff, like you said. It's super interesting to me. And that's exactly why I started this podcast, right? I want to understand more about people. And like, you had like the dream job, right? You were working at ESPN. You were probably seeing more things, meeting more people than you could ever imagine. And you're like, I think I might want to do something else. And you go and do that, right? So you do that, and then you're successful, and then you kind of shed that and you move on to your next thing. But I can honestly say, with me not being a craft brew guy, I really, truly, honestly enjoy going and trying the different products you guys have. I mean,
that makes me very happy to hear. And again, I sincerely appreciate that. I think the one thing, as much as I joke about not being a beer guy, I think the one thing that we really wanted to achieve was creating a space that was, very reflective of kind of the core demographic where we were going to plant the brewery, right? So like, we wanted to create the Workhorse brand to be representative of that, broader cultural ethos of greater Philadelphia. And then obviously you've seen the size of the facility. The goal always from day one was regional production. And so the assumption was, if we were able to achieve that goal, we were going to be moving out from a distribution standpoint, kind of in concentric circles, and thinking about, what are the values that matter to people in central Pennsylvania and New Jersey and New York and Maryland, all those kind of that blue collar, responsible, dependable, reliable attitude was going to be pervasive in all those regions as we grew. So we wanted to build a spot where, I could have people who wanted to nerd out on beer, right? You want to come in, you want to talk about the hop bill, you want to talk about where we, source ingredients and what, temperature we ferment at. Like, those are all things that our staff is trained to discuss, and they're happy to chat about it. But like, if you want to come in and drink a golden lager, which is, the closest thing we offer to a Miller Lite,
it's delicious. I'm not gonna
It's
lie.
a great beer.
It's really good. Yeah, it really is.
It's not fussy. It's not pretentious. You sit down, you want to watch a game. I mean, that always drove me crazy as a sports fan. Like, going to craft breweries as part of the R&D process. Like, you could walk into a space in a crazy sports town like Philadelphia, and there weren't any TVs. It's like, I just want to watch the Phillies or I want to watch the Flyers. Why can't I watch this game? So it's more about, I think, just making people feel comfortable than
and that's a really interesting point, because there's some other craft brew companies in the area, right? And they all have great products, right? I would imagine there's competition, but I mean, you all seem to set each other apart, right? You're apart from each other. But speaking about the atmosphere and the ambiance that you guys have in the tap room, I mean, you can go in there anytime. There are families in there. There's kids, like, I wouldn't say kids running around, but it's super friendly for kids.
Mm-hmm.
The outdoor space is amazing. And it's funny because when I bring my kids there, I was just there with my daughter, I think last week, and we're walking up, and she, kids always have their faces in their phone, right? She looks up and she goes, "Does all the food come from that trailer outside?" I said, "Yeah, all of it." She's like, "There's no way. There's no way that food that tastes that good comes out of that trailer." And I'm like, it really does, and it's delicious. By the way, the beer cheese there, it's untouchable. It's
Good,
untouchable.
right?
Yeah.
Those guys, I should give a shout out to Pete and Gus from Pete's Famous Pizza, who came in and run the restaurant for us. The kind of, you talked a lot about understanding business and why people make decisions. I mean, when we opened Workhorse in 2018, and even during the meetings we had with the township in 17, where we had to present our plans and really explain who we were going to be, we were like, we don't want to be a restaurant. Like, running a restaurant's hard. We're running a bar, we're running a production brewery, we're running a trucking company because we self-distribute our beer. Like, I don't want to add a restaurant to that. So the goal was, let's bring in food trucks and partner with people to do it. And what we found was that it was hit or miss. Sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad, but more than not, I would say it was inconsistent.
Yeah.
So pandemic hit, we had already planned to open the restaurant. We had to push it back. And Pete and Gus, they own 3 restaurants, long time, like, family business in Center City. And they basically just said, listen, instead of us investing maybe $500,000, $1 million in a commercial kitchen and hood fans and township zoning or everything that you don't want to deal with, they're like, listen, this truck that we have, it's a catering truck. We serve the contractors who built Comcast 2. Like, if we can keep hundreds of very hungry guys fed for the duration of that build out, we can park that truck there and serve a 200-person wedding and however many people you have in your tap room. Right. So kudos to them. They brought it in. It's licensed as a food truck, but obviously, as you know, you don't eat at the truck. It's still table service like any other restaurant. And they just do a great job.
It's and I'll tell you, you don't wait. You're never waiting for anything there, and it's
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, and look, I gain nothing. I gain nothing. I mean, I'm having you on here, obviously I want to understand, and I would love to come in and maybe, if it's possible, to see kind of how the process goes. I mean,
absolutely.
I don't know if that's possible, but we'll talk about that later too. But yeah, the space itself, I mean, I've been in there on a Saturday night and you have weddings just like in the one area. It's kind of like, for those of you who haven't been there yet, you really should go, number one. But number two, it's like a dock space, right? So there's roll down doors, like garage doors that are clear, and like, it's just, it's separate, but it's all tied in together. It's really, really well done. It's really well done. And, it's really a great place to go to. So that being said, let's lead into the golf aspect, right? So I will say that it really was enjoyable, the golf piece. I think I was on, I don't know, I think I played in maybe 5 events or something like that, but the app works great. The courses you guys have partnered with in Montgomery County are outstanding. And the scoring, everything is just easy. So give me a little bit of an idea about how that all came about.
Yeah, well, also, let me tell you, if you were happy with the way things went year 1, you're going to be blown away in year 2, because to your point, we did a lot of self-assessment, a lot of customer source feedback on ways to improve, and got a ton of great partnerships, but I'll talk more about that as we go. So, really the way this all kind of came together, we all woke up like everyone else did on, March 13th of 2020 and said, holy shit, like, am I going to have a business? All of the money we invested, the time we spent, the people we've brought to this team, is this even going to be viable? No one knew it was going to happen. And I think over the first 4, 6, 8, 10 weeks, we started to get a realization that, okay, well, not only are we going to be okay, largely due to the support of the community, which was, I mean, every time I have an opportunity to thank the people of Montgomery County and King of Prussia, like it was really not just, hey, we're going to come in and buy your beer and try to keep you, in business. It was the words of kindness, that can we help with anything, the patience with every different pivot. I mean, it was truly unbelievable. And what it allowed us to do was, keep people employed. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to do as a business owner. So that was awesome. But so we started feeling, let's say 2-3 months into the pandemic, all right, not only are we going to make it through, we're poised to grow. And as most businesses are in the first, call it 3 to 5 years of their life cycle, you're wearing a gazillion hats. You're doing things that you need to rather than you want to. You're playing defense. You're not going on offense. And I'm obviously a board member, as a co-founder, and I'm sitting in a board meeting with some of my colleagues, virtually speaking, at that time. And we were discussing, how do we, not knowing how long the pandemic is going to last, but knowing that we need to shift again to play offense, where can we put our product in the market where we know people are going to be able to have access to it in a way that is pandemic proof? It's not reinventing the wheel. We're not asking people to change their habits. And I said, I played golf my whole life. Like, I always drink beer on the golf course or after the round or both. So why not think more strategically about how do we connect more deeply with golf courses and area golfers? So that's kind of how it all started. And then it really metastasized from, let's just sell more beer to golf courses, into the Workhorse Tour project. The actual function of how we came up with the concept for the tour, our primary financial backer is a company called MVP Capital, based out of Radnor. They have an ownership stake in Golf Genius. And for those who don't know, who might be listening, Golf Genius is a software company that basically runs real-time scoring and tournament leaderboards for tens of thousands of golf courses across the country. So industry leader, really high quality tech, and really fantastic people. So we had a call, myself with and some of our colleagues at the brewery, with the CEO, this guy named Mike Zisman. And really what we got at was, I'm kind of a core demo for golf, in the sense that I've played my whole life, but I have the 2 young kids who are under 5. I run this business, and I don't really have time to either join a private club or the money to join a private club. And I didn't want to just play 9 holes in the same course on league night every Tuesday. I wanted some variance. I wanted to play different places, and I didn't want to wait for a friend to invite me to an outing to play competitively. Mm-hmm. So we said, how do we solve the problem for unaffiliated amateurs who want to play competitively, while also giving an outlet for folks maybe just getting into the game to play tournament style golf, but without feeling the pressure of, I've got people watching me and I've got to hit every shot perfectly. And that's really how the tour was born. So the way it works, as is, members join, they pay. This year we have a couple different membership options, but the first year was $25. That got you your GIN number, which is the handicapping number from the USGA. So all levels can participate. And then you have these week-long tournaments rather than 1-day or 2-day tournaments. And you can play anytime during that window. So it really helped solve the problem of, okay, well, I could play Tuesday morning, or I could play Saturday afternoon. I would play by myself, play with different people. And I think it really kind of checked a lot of the boxes, and ended up benefiting the golfers, benefited the course partners, and the brewery, obviously.
Let me just chime in here, if I may.
Please do.
So it was $25 to join. Okay. Just for those of you listening, it was $25 to join. And that basically gets you entry in to be able to compete in the events, right? So you still go and pay whatever the rate is at the course and all that. However, the GIN, which is the Golf Handicap Index, that is generally about $35 if you want to get that on your own.
Oh, right. Best case, 40 to 50.
Best case. So
yeah.
And on top of that, I received a $25 gift card to go drink beer in the tap room.
Yeah, as did everybody.
So, right. So everyone did. And I got a really nice Vice golf ball with the Workhorse logo on it, which I tried not to hit, but I ran out of golf balls and it's all nicked up, but whatever.
Is it still in your bag?
It is still in my bag.
Well played, sir.
Yeah,
well
still
played.
in my bag. But yeah, so that alone, and when I tell people about it and they're like, it's $25 to join. I'm like, yeah, and I said, but you get a $25 gift card if you like to drink, or you could just give it to someone if you want, and they can go enjoy it themselves. But you get the handicap index, and on top you get to go play different courses, and you can be competitive. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But it was a very attractive thing for me, and for me just getting back into golf. By the way, I went out. I didn't play golf really for 5 years. I went out and shot as low as a 79 this year. So
good for you, man.
Yeah. It was good. I will say the Hickory Valley ate me up.
Did you play Ambassador or Presidential?
I played.
They're both.
Yeah,
hard.
I don't remember. I think it was the Ambassador. But yeah, they are both hard. I mean, they're
both hard.
When you look at it, it doesn't look hard. And then you get up there and you get on the tee box and you're like, I have to hit a drive down the chute of these big, huge, mature trees and all that. But Letterack, I played right after a really bad storm, so it wasn't terrible. But the greens weren't. But honestly, Dan, it's one of the smartest things I've ever seen with relation to golf, because like you said, I mean, there were days where, I work in heating and air conditioning, so I can't, in the summertime, I work in the distributor aspect of it. But, if I had a day where I'm like, I can get out of here at 5 o'clock and I can get to, wherever, one of the golf courses, and I can play, and I got paired up with some great people, but I did it on my own schedule. Right. So to your point, you have kids, like, you don't have to worry about like, oh, I'm going to work all week and then stressing out, like, what's the weather going to be good on Saturday or Sunday. And it just worked really, really well. And I think it's like the people's golf league, like for real. And it feels like a legit tour, because you get to watch all of the, the leaderboard and all that other kind of stuff. It was funny because, I think anyone who plays golf, you see the people who got in early and, they were at the top, and then all of a sudden their handicaps started going down. So, but it's done really, really well. So, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So how did the golf courses receive that? Like, it's a huge win for them, I would imagine, because you're kind of funneling people to their course.
Yeah. So the way the relationships work with the golf course is basically when we approach them, they say, hey, here's the deal. We are going to bring a 1-week event to your club at no cost to you, right? So the course partners that work with us, they keep 100% of the greens fees. Mm-hmm. So if you book a tee sheet at Tee Time at Letterack, they're keeping the entirety of what you pay them. And we're also not asking them to dedicate any staffing or operational resources. We're not asking them to block tee times off. We're not asking them to change their day-to-day scheduling, staffing, operations, anything. What we say is, hey, we're going to come for the week. We're going to give the course a tournament feel. We're going to put up signage everywhere. We're going to have feather flags, banner stands. We're working with your pro shop and your clubhouse to have nice looking collateral promoting the tour in your location. And then we're going to market the bejesus out of it. We're going to promote it on social. We have a weekly feature on Inside Golf on NBC Sports Philadelphia. We have a partnership with the folks at iHeartMedia. So we've got radio ads running, promoting the courses we play with. On top of that, when we go to them, we say, this is just 1 week, but we are also going to support you throughout the course of the season. So if you're a partner of the tour, we are going to be able to come out and run activations and on-site events, whether it's putting a beer tent out for one of your member guest outings, whether it's, if you have a person who books the course for an outing, we'll come out and do a closest to the pin competition with the winner getting a brewery tour. And really the only thing that we ask for them is that they buy Workhorse beer. So to better understand how the sausage is made, the value for the golfer, as you kind of elaborated, it's flexible scheduling, competitive play all these different great courses, get member perks and sponsor benefits. And we'll have a lot more of those this year with partners. You get private course access to some events that we run. Again, that'll be a lot more this year. If you're the golf course, you're getting the marketing, you're getting the holes in your tee sheet filled, you're getting the revenue that's generated from those greens fees and the food and bev side. And for the brewery, we obviously sell more beer, which is a goal, but also the cost that it would have, incurred to us to be able to put signage up at 25 golf courses for 6 months out of the year would have been exorbitant. Right. But we don't pay for that. We get to put our signage up for the week. And then if you're playing on tour or you just happen to be playing at that golf course, you're inundated with Workhorse branding for 4.5 hours. My hope is that you go right to the clubhouse and buy a beer after the round. But if not, next time you're at Wegmans or Whole Foods and you're in between, a couple different beer choices, you see that logo. Oh, that was on the 7th hole when I had that beautiful par putt, and I want to drink that beer.
Right. Yeah. No, I everything. It's funny. Everything you just said, like, I'm just going through every experience I've had. I think I don't know how many rounds exactly I played, but I think I might have played 5 events or something like that. Mm-hmm. But exactly what you just said is exactly what the experience is. There's no way. I cannot reiterate this enough to anyone who's interested in playing golf. this was one of the most fun tour kind of anything I've ever participated in, because if you play on a Monday, you can watch a leaderboard all week. Or if you play on Sunday, you can go out and say, here's what I need to shoot in order to win.
That's the best part.
And I'll tell you, it's, like I grew up playing baseball, and till this day, I don't know how you do with your kids, but my kids have never beat me at anything. And the time that they do is going to be because they earn it. Right. So I'm competitive like that.
Yeah.
But when it really comes down to it, it's, you can have that competitive nature, but you can also go out and have fun and know that, I mean, there were rounds I went out and I shot lights out for myself, but there were also rounds where Letterack, I feel like I shot a 94 there, but I finished like 7 and 8. Right. So I was not very far from an 80, 88, 87, something like that. But,
sure.
When I came off the course, there's Workhorse, right? So the tents there, and the people that I saw and dealt with, they're just fantastic people. Like they just want to help you. They want to answer any questions you can have. And obviously there was some growth this year with the tour, because now you have Matt's running it now, right?
So yeah, Matt joined the team last year. He'd run our tap room for a little while, did an amazing job navigating us through the pandemic. And then I think right around the time the tour started, he was kind of looking to shift within the organization. I think the tap room job was great. He'd done as much as he could do and just wanted more work-life balance. Frankly, I mean, it's a tough job being in there all the time. And, we had an opportunity to bring him on to run operations. I mean, if anyone who's listening to this knows Matt, I mean, Matt, he's the most detail-oriented guy on the planet. So he was the perfect guy to bring in to help do that.
His nephew played baseball for us, right?
That's
so we would come,
right?
we would come after. We came after one of the games because the season was just crazy. But we came after the one game, and Matt's sister also delivers beer for you guys, right? So, and so there's all these kind of connections that we have, and in going to the brewery, and even seeing, like I see the truck just driving around delivering beer all the time. So you guys are in the community, and that's super important, right? And you're in a spot where not many people would have taken the chance on that spot, and you're set out all alone. You have a great spot. You're not going to have, I can't imagine if you have an event that people would complain, because the neighbors are actually pretty far away, right? So
yeah,
I would say this, I would love to help you guys put on a big event there with music at some point.
We love big music events. Anything now that we're back at it, full speed. It's good to do anything like that. So
we'll talk more. We'll talk more about that.
Sounds good
on that side. But so the Workhorse tour itself. Well, I didn't ask, where did Workhorse come from? Where did that name come from?
Yeah, so great question. I mean, again, the kind of guiding principle for us was, how do we create a brand that's reflective of that cultural ethos? And when we thought about, the qualities of this region and what people value, those buzzwords I said earlier, it's, responsibility, dedication, persistence, accountability. And we wanted to find a word and a name for the brewery that represented that, but also was easy to spell. The social media handles were available.
Right.
Wasn't taken by one of the 8,000 breweries out there, which is far more challenging than you could ever imagine.
I believe it.
So yeah, so that was it. And also, like, we have horseshoes, but like we're not a equine centric brewery. Like there's no horse gimmick stuff around. It's all about the qualities of a workhorse as opposed to the saddle up and take a ride yourself type of thing.
Okay. Yeah. That's I'll tell you, it's the logo's super clean. And like, so I worked in tobacco, and I did some marketing, and I always go on press runs, and like, I'm a label geek, and like, it's super weird. But, but I look at those kind of things, right? And it's all done in a very, very high quality, level. So that's, again, it's quality from the time you walk in the door till the time you walk out, or the time you take your first sip to your last sip or whatever. And, so what is the most popular beer that you guys offer? Like, what's the biggest seller? There's a lot of them. I mean,
yeah, we have 3 core year-round beers in the Golden Lager, the New England IPA, and the West Coast IPA. I would say that the two IPAs are more or less neck and neck, month over month, both in the tap room and then in the wholesale market. We do have, excuse me, some pretty popular seasonal and limited releases that for the period of time that they're available, they outsell everything else because they're just limited. And that's not due to capacity. We obviously have more than enough capacity to brew them. A lot of what we found is that there's just such a thirst, literally speaking, for new beers in this market. It's such a competitive landscape that if you just kept a tight portfolio of 8 beers consistently, people would just get bored, even if those beers are all great. And the irony is, like, what we find, at least from talking to customers and what the taproom staff reports, is like, the beer I'm drinking right now is our Baltic Porter, which was a very limited release. It's one of my favorite beers we make. And people will come in and they'll have one of those, or they'll have it in a flight, and then they'll just go back to the other normal beers. Like, it's not that, that drives everything. It's just, it's a nice gateway to kind of change and then go back to what you like.
Yeah. And so talking about the flights, when I go there, like if my fiance goes with me or whatever, we'll get a flight, and I'm like, she's like a huge coffee person, right? So I guess I forget what it's called. Yeah. Started up
Coffee vanilla porter.
And she'll literally take a sip, and she said she loves it. It's delicious. But to your point, you can only, she might only be able to take so much. So then we go and do the flight, and
sure.
But it's funny because me growing up, and I don't know if at least all my friends, like when we drank beer, we just drank as much as we could, right? So now it's like you can't, like, these beers that you guys produce are like, when I say they're delicious, I truly mean that again. But like they fill you up. Like you can actually enjoy it, and you can like maybe share it with someone or whatever. And that's interesting to me because, again, when I grew up, like I get a Miller Lite, it's going away very, very quickly. And yours kind of force me to sit back and like enjoy it, which is what I probably should be doing instead.
Well, I mean, when we talk about golf, it's like, 13 Miller Lights on the golf course. Like, I'm not gonna pretend like I haven't done that before. Maybe not 13 if my wife is listening, but
right. Yeah.
5, 6 for sure. But I mean, that what we wanted to do, I felt like, again, kind of what I said at the beginning about not being a craft beer guy. Once we made the decision to open a brewery, I basically spent the next 18 months researching and visiting tap rooms, which I know really hard work. I won't,
terrible. Must have been awful.
Tough life. Yeah. Really awful stuff. But it was really cool to be able to go and kind of get that experience. I mean, first of all, I will say this, and I've said it countless times. We made every decision that we made as far as Workhorse is concerned, from operational strategy to branding, whatever. It was all based on insights that we gleaned from talking to other people. Like, because I had no knowledge, and you talked about serial entrepreneur and that kind of passion. Whenever I talk to other entrepreneurs, it's like, just ask questions. There was never a time where, like, I'm not a brewery savant. I don't know anything about the industry. I came in, I still don't know how to make the beer. It's just go and ask questions. Why did you get this manufacturer to produce this tank, or why did you get this amount of space? And like, we opened a 70,000 square foot facility because every single brewer that we talked to said, I don't have enough space. I wish I had more space. So, okay, cool. Well, let's alleviate that problem from the beginning. And on the beer side of it, which is why I started answering this question anyway, was so many breweries focused on these like lactose hazy IPAs where you can drink one and one only, whether it's ABV or texture or whatever. My goal as a business owner is to get you to spend more money in the brewery, right? The more money you spend, the more time. Like, that's basic economics. So for us, it was, if we make our beer accessible and approachable from both a flavor standpoint, ABV standpoint, then you can spend time savoring it, enjoying it. We'll want to have 2, 3, 4 beers while you're there eating food. And you can still be responsible because we're not giving you, 12.2% triple pastry stouts.
Right. Yeah. And you want to be able to enjoy it and still drive home too. Right. So, and that's, it's super important. And, the branding, the communication. And when I say communication, I'll say all of the, everything that you have out for people to read, no matter where you're at, you can see what's available. Again, my first time there, I'm like, look, I drink Miller Lite, give me the closest thing. And they're like, all right, have this. And it was very close. It was a lot better. I'm not going to lie. And I've a lot of, stock in that company. But when I can't, I'm going to sound like a broken record. My kids literally say, hey, can we get a Workhorse? Because they like the atmosphere. The food's great. I mean, look, when you can get pretzels with beer cheese, you're never, ever going to lose. but the pizza's great. And, you know, everything that we've had, the cheesesteak, everything is just really, really done well. And
You want to pivot out of HVAC and come work as a brand ambassador, like the door's open, man. Like this
let me
is
tell you
music
something.
to my ears.
Anything I can do to help, and honestly, I will do reads. I will wear your shirts. I will, if you have a golf bag, I'll get anything I can do to help people. I do, because who knows, you know, I mean, I grew up with, in my career, working at John Middleton, it was privately owned. And that's kind of what we did. I mean, they had Black and Mild. I still have a Black and Mild umbrella that I walk around, and people are like, oh, I mean, I've had offers of like $300 for people to buy it because you can't get them made anymore. But
no, I'm sure
it comes down to brand loyalty, right? And it seems like, you know, the brand loyalty, I'll go in, and by the way, when you go into your tap room, the seating is pretty much perfect. I mean, you have high tops, you have the bar, you have like the picnic table style benches, you have outside, you have picnic tables, and like, I'm a huge fan, as you can tell. But I think for all the right reasons, it's what you've created an environment that is welcoming to people, right? And it's kind of tucked away. So I think, I don't know how quickly it kind of ramped up, but I know now I'll drive past there 3-4 times a week. It's really hard to not stop in, but you know, I'm by myself, and that probably wouldn't be a good thing. But yeah, you have a great space, and the products are great. So I don't know if you get all this kind of feedback all the time, but I've never heard anything bad. And you know, we brought our baseball team there, and it's a team of 16-year-old young men and younger, and their families came, and it was in the middle of the summer. We got tables outside, and it was not a problem that we had, you know, everyone had their own check. I mean, the staff there is great. And that was the first time I had those. I think I had like 2 slushies that day, but they were really good. But
they're dangerous. I love them.
Yeah,
yeah,
really, really good. So I do, you know, congratulations on developing an outstanding product and experience.
Thank you.
It's not just about the product, right? It's about the experience itself.
Well, I was just going to say,
yeah, it seems like you guys are, I mean, you're taking it on the road, right? So you're taking that same experience, and I'm a patron at your, we'll just say your store, right? I'm a patron there, and I go to this golf tour that you have put together, and it's the same experience. It's the same quality. It's just super high quality.
I mean, that's, again, I can't say thank you enough. And at the end of the day, you know, what we're trying to do, we're all humans, right? We're all individual people. And I think sometimes that get lost in business, right? Where it's like, you have to make a buck. And like, listen, we have venture capital backing. So like, there is a desire to make a lot of bucks. It's not just, let's do this for fun. We're trying to make money and grow the brand, but that doesn't happen unless you make real substantive, tangible connections with people. And not like, I'm trying to tell you, hey, this is what we like to do. You've lived it, you've seen it. And the reality is, the only reason it works is because we have a leadership group, top down. Nate, who's our brewmaster and our president, Joe Carr, who's our managing director, Matt, who obviously, you know, worked in the taproom forever, now works in the on tour, Drew Cicchini, who's our new taproom manager, and the staff that he runs out there, our sales team from Doug down to Jared to staff. I mean, we just have all these people who have bought into what we're trying to do, and they all want to support it in the same way. And that's not to sit here and say that like it's all roses every day, because it's small business. It's hard
work. Sure. Yeah, it's work.
It's work. But the reality is, these people who are part of the organization are what makes it. And, you know, this is the first time we've met, right? And you've had a positive experience with the company that I've started, and we've never met. And that, at the end of the day, as a founder, is exactly what you want. I don't want it to be, hey, someone knew me through a friend and went out and supported. I mean, they do that, and it's great. But that's not how you scale, right? It has to be consistency every touch point. And why I love the tour is because it gives us exactly what you say. It gives us another opportunity to connect with people in an area where they're probably not used to connecting directly with a brewery that cares about golf. Like, that's just a novel concept for most folks. And it just gives us another opportunity to make those connections and to share the brand, to get them you know, aware of what we're doing. And also, at the end of the day, brings value and fun and an experience to you that you would not otherwise have.
Yeah. And, you know, it's all of those things rolled up, and you keep it. And when I say high quality, I really do mean that. I mean, everything from, you know, from the advertisements down to, you know, down to the product. And look, the place is always super clean. I mean, it literally is everything I'm saying, and I would challenge anyone, if you go and don't have a good experience, I'd be very, very surprised.
Call me if you don't, because we want to.
Right.
Like I want to pivot from you telling us how great we are to let's go back to where things on tour that you wanted to see fixed, because I want to be able to address every one of them, because we've spent a lot of time. But that's like, honestly, that is, and for anyone listening who either hasn't come to Workhorse, has come, likes it, or had any experience, positive or bad, like I reiterate this to everybody I talk to. The only way we can ever fix a problem is if you tell us there is a problem.
Well, let me ask you something. I have two questions about the brewery part of it, right?
Yeah.
So do you have like classes, like for people to come in and say, look, I want to understand how to pair a beer with, I mean, really any beer goes good with pizza, right? But if you're going to cook a steak, like or you're going to have a cookout, or you're going to have, whatever, do you have guidance? Do you have like a website? Do you have, like, I would love to come in and learn about how, because when I was in tobacco, they would teach us flavors, right? Flavor profiles. Do you have anything like that?
So we don't offer like a regular class per se. We've trained, so we have what we call a beer Bible, which Nate put together way back when we started. And then our production team, which has now grown substantially to other brewers and folks who work back there, they put together this quote unquote Bible that we share with our bar staff. And it's part of their training and onboarding, where they understand, hey, here are the beers that we make. Here are the flavor profiles they have. Here's what they pair well with. If someone has a question, what would you recommend off the menu to do this? Or if I'm making a chili at home, should I use your smoked oatmeal stout or your Baltic Porter? Like they should. Now, granted, not every single person knows every last combination, but we train them to know as much as possible. And then sporadically, we'll host events from time to time. Now that we've grown and it's not just Nate working by himself in the brewery, he often joins in from time to time on those type of things. And we love, like that's a great way to make connections and add value.
Yeah, I think so. The beer Bible, is that something available? Is that, I think I feel like I saw something somewhere. Maybe it was on your website where it talked about it.
We have some stuff on the website. So like we create these little graphics that we use on Instagram from time to time, and that we had on the website that did give some details as far as like what you would pair with, but it's not something that's readily available. We do have the Bible is more of like a internal document, but it's interesting to think about something like that as a consumable piece of literature that we could hand out or make available at the tap.
Right. I mean, I would, again, just from a consumer's perspective, I would love to come, even if you just did like, a 30-minute thing with, everyone who wanted to learn about it got a flight, right? And everyone, Jesus, I'm really all screwed up here. I apologize.
We're getting excited. We're talking about beer and food.
I'll tell you, this is a great, I love this conversation. But if I could come in and get a flight of 4 different flavors, and maybe you do a half hour, you do however long, but one person can do it, or you can bring 2 people in and you learn how to taste and all that. I don't know, just an idea for me, because I'm a rather large individual. I like to eat volume. But I do, I've kind of equated the beer, like the craft beer, I guess, business and to like pairing something with wine, right? So it's just about flavor profiles and all that. And I think it gets dangerous for me, because I will get so into it, and then I'll be like, hey, what can I put with this? What can I put with that? And
so what you were talking about as far as like the connection to wine. So I was actually more of a wine guy than I was a beer guy, and still really love wine. My wife and I just took our first, like in October, we took our first kidless trip in 4 years out to Oregon wine country. Nice. That. We love that stuff. So what I've told people when they've come into the brewery or we've had these conversations is like, yes, there are things that traditionally pair better with certain types of foods, right? Like you have a hoppy beer, like a West Coast IPA goes great with spicy food. You use a Vienna lager in your chili, whatever it is, right? But at the end of the day, everyone's...
I'm going to try that now. I never even thought of that.
The Vienna with chili is rock solid.
Yeah,
really big fan.
I got you.
But what I would say is for anybody who's interested in trying those things, try the quote unquote traditional pairing, but then try stuff, because you never know realistically, what everyone's palate's different. Everyone has a different, sensory reaction to whatever beer they drink. And, it was the whole like, oh, don't drink red wine with fish. It's like, there are plenty of, types of red wine that go great with different types of fish. So just try it and enjoy it, and making it less pretentious and rigid in terms of what you should do.
Yeah, just make it fun. Keep it fun.
Make it fun.
You know,
doesn't mean that the classic pairings don't work, because a lot of times they do, and they're classic for a reason. But like, do whatever makes you happy and you enjoy as far as alcohol and food goes. Because
well, look, people tell me they love mushrooms, and I say mushrooms growing shit. I'm not eating them. Right? So as silly as that might sound, that's just, I get it. Some
this
people
podcast
like it,
is brought to you by the Kennett Square Mushroom Growers.
Yeah, we actually do a lot of business with them. Their environments are very abrasive on their air quality equipment. Just a little note.
It's a little stinky. That's for sure.
Yeah. But so that actually answered the questions I had. Now let's get back to the tour. Cool. Right. So why don't do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Your show, my friend. Ask the question.
Okay.
I'll give you an answer.
All right. Look. Okay. So what, I think I alluded to it a little bit earlier, in that, early in the season, you could see people, kind of being at the top of the leaderboard. And again, it's this whole entire tour is based on trust, right? So you're going to trust that people are going to go out and write down what they shoot. Mm-hmm. Look, I have some of my best friends that are the biggest cheaters ever, right? But when I go out, I do want to compete. And I think towards the end of the season, at least for the championships, you started saying, hey, you have to have someone to go out with you and not necessarily vouch for you, but you just kind of, take that little, hey, I found my ball kind of deal. Right.
For sure.
So I think, that was, I think, one of the biggest things, because anyone who has played golf can see, you can see handicaps from week to week. And that's the great thing about the way that everything, I mean, I could go and look at anyone's score for any course that they played, any hole, anything.
Yep.
And I could see their handicap going from like, a 12. And then by the end of the season, they're at like a 6. And I'm like, oh, that might be a little drastic, but,
sure.
But I mean, I think I did that. That did happen.
Uh-huh.
And the end of the season, the way the format was, with saying, hey, you have to go out with someone, and you did all the work to pair people up, and you did all these different things. I think that was one of the best steps that could have been taken for this season. Anything other than, I think that was really my only issue.
Sure.
But again, it's
first season. I can definitely address that. So even before we get into the integrity of score posting, which is undoubtedly the number one thing on our agenda this year.
Sure.
And I have a lot of good solutions for it. But so the first thing you said, obviously coming into the first year, we didn't really have a ton of promotional time leading up to this. Yeah. So the folks who were on the leaderboards for the most of the first half of the season were the guys that joined right away, right? Early, so there was a huge advantage to the, call it 50 folks that joined in the first 4 or 5 weeks, as opposed to anyone who found out later. So obviously this year, with a full season under our belt, it gives us the opportunity now to start promoting more aggressively. We have months of lead time. At this time last year, I was still hoping to figure out how this was going to work. Now we have 3/4 of our 2022 schedule locked up. So by January 15th, let's say, we'll be full speed ahead. Hey, here's the tour schedule. Here's registration options for different membership things. Get signed up, be there for week 1. So I think you'll see a much more competitive and fluid leaderboard with names moving up and down, depending on how often people play. So that's a big
Shane's killing it right now.
Oh yeah. I love Shane.
So
Shane, really.
I believe he bought a golf club off of me years ago when I had my golf club company called Yeti Golf.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he used to play on it was like the Golf Channel Pro-Am Tour or something like that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I'll have to look back and.
Well, you guys are going to have to get paired at some point this year and play. That's the result here.
I'll play with anyone. I just played over at Flowertown just because I've been looking at different clubs. I played there Black Friday. It was 30 degrees and 900 mile an hour winds, and I got beat so bad by a woman who belongs there.
Yeah.
And I played good golf that day. I think she beat me by 3 strokes, and it was, I'll play with anyone. So anyway.
Yeah. So that's the first part of that. Also this year, we're going to be doing, there'll be 3 separate divisions. The first year was just, hey, let's get as many people in here, test proof of concept. So we'll have a net, a gross, and a separate women's division this year.
Okay.
But we're also going to offer, in addition to the full season long leaderboard, there's going to be a first half winner and a second half winner. So let's say you don't happen on the tour until July of next year. Hey, there's still a reason to come join. Or if you played poorly in the first 3 months of the season and you want an opportunity to make good, you can come and do it. The other thing that will happen this year is because we have some ways to address the integrity of scoring, which I'll talk about in a second, we're going to be offering more prizes for each individual event. Because if we have trust and faith that what's being posted is correct, then I have not as much of an issue offering more prizes to people. So, hey, maybe you can only play in 2 or 3 events all year because your schedule doesn't allow, or you just don't want to play more. You can still now have a reason to compete and come out and play in those events because the value you're getting from the membership and the potential to win those prizes is sufficient.
That sounds amazing. I mean, already.
Yeah, and to be honest, again, John, it goes back to the same thing we did with the brewery, where it's like, okay, we have some ideas as to what's happening, but we sent out a survey to all of our members. We got a ton of responses. We have staffers on site for the duration of these events who were taking and soliciting feedback. So this is all, hey, golfers telling us what the issues were, what's preventing you from playing more, or what would allow you to have more fun or engagement. Tell us what it is. It's year 1, we can fix it.
Yeah. And realistically, I mean, if you want to win that bad, dude, more power to you. If you have to do that to win, like, you're only cheating yourself, right?
People are going to sandbag in golf regardless, and it's disappointing. But like, we've all played in outings where it's a tough day. The greens are fast, the wind is blowing. You feel like you came in with -7, and that was an achievement. Like, our team on 4-man best ball, and someone posts net 14. You're like, how is that even possible?
I used to run a tournament for years, and the same group of people won every year. They would get it was like 4 tickets to the Phillies game and the what's the one right behind the home plate?
Diamond Club.
The Diamond Club, yeah.
Because I would say 4 tickets to a Phillies game right now feels more like a penalty than a prize.
Yeah, this was, well, I mean, look, if you're playing and you're winning the golf tournament, but so the last year, I purposely put myself in front of them and I counted all their strokes. I mean, they came in to your point, like they were like -13, and it was me and one of my buddies who, I think we were the next lowest at like maybe 8.
Yeah.
And, I confronted them and I was like, look, I saw everything you did, and it's uncomfortable, but again, if you want to win that bad, then, whatever. But
yeah. So here's what we're doing for this year. So one of the first things that we're doing is we've partnered officially with the Golf Association of Philadelphia. Last year, we were partners with the Philadelphia section of PGA, which we will be again. But with GAP and the PGA on board, we're doing 2 things really. So we launched the player committee. That's going to be meeting monthly at the tap room. And that's going to allow us, we'll have a representative from GAP and from the PGA at both of those, or at all those meetings, excuse me. We're going to be reviewing every single score posted from every single event. And if we notice this wild fluctuation of players only posting good scores on tour and then posting awful rounds off tour to manipulate the handicap, those players are going to have their rounds pulled and they're going to be warned that they're going to be ejected from tour.
Okay.
So that's an easy thing. And GAP has a ton of tools that are automated that allow you to monitor the fluctuation of handicaps and score posting to say, hey, this is outside of a certain threshold. There's no way this is happening. Secondly, we are going to have a cap. If you post better than a -net7 for any event, that's great. Congratulations. Every dog has a day. And it's funny because at Jeffersonville last year, which is one of our majors, was actually the biggest event we had in terms of attendance. Mm-hmm. One of our best partners. And if anyone has not played Jeffersonville, I cannot say enough good things about that course. We love the staff. The course is beautiful. It's fantastic. We had 2 players post net -12, which is for an 18-hole round is way outside of normal parameters. However, one of those players was playing with a tour staffer who vouched for it. And the other guy was playing with one of our tour sponsors who also vouched for it. So what that tells you is that it's not impossible to shoot those numbers, right? Like, everybody can do that. Mm-hmm. So we're not trying to say, hey, you can't play well on tour. But what we're saying is, if no one was there to validate it, next time you go out, you play with somebody else. It's just that simple. We won't let you play another round, so you play with someone else. Along the lines of playing with someone else, we are launching a pairings program for next year that will allow golfers, when they log onto the website, to see a full list of anyone who chooses to put their name in there to say, hey, my name's Dan. I'm an 11 handicap. I'm available for this week on Tuesday morning, Thursday afternoon, Friday. My email is this. If you want to play, let's get paired up. So what we'll do is we'll do a better job growing the community and getting people to play with each other, to get them to meet each other. So those are the primary steps, but we're also going to have a GAP scoring and rules official at our major tournaments and the Tour Championship. So that way there is someone on course monitoring these things throughout the course of the day. because the reality is it's a feature and a bug in terms of the flexible scheduling. It's the single primary differentiator behind what we do to allow you to play when you want. And we don't want to remove that. We also have learned that we can't just trust everyone will have the integrity to post an honest score. Right. But we also, at the end of the day, like I can't, there's no way I can tell somebody who missed a 3-foot putt and then marked it as good. I won't be able to fix that every time.
I think based on what you just said, it makes sense to me. And as a player who, I mean, there was a point where I would be like, I'm like, oh, that there's no way that happened. Now, like, I'm not going to say I don't care, but I just go out and shoot what I shoot and, whatever. It's still an amateur event. You know what I mean? So it's like the prizes are great and, all that kind of stuff, but it's not like $30,000. Right?
Yeah,
you're not winning.
That's part of the reason why we can't offer better prizes. Or I mean, I think our prizes are great, but why we can't offer cash or why we can't offer $500 gift card somewhere, because it incentivizes people to cheat. And at the end of the day, I'd rather have much bigger prize for an overall winner who shows consistency throughout the course of the year,
right,
as opposed to someone coming out and manipulating the score for one round. I think at the end of the day too, you're far less likely, even if you are an honest person, you're going to be far less likely to maybe bend the rules. Like a great example of this, you hit a tee shot out of bounds, but you don't know it's out of bounds. You get all the way down there and you're playing, at a public golf course and you realize, crap, I am OB. I can't drop. I have to re-tee.
Right.
I guarantee you 9 out of 10 people on tour are just going to drop that ball, take a penalty stroke and hit from there. It's not the letter of the law, right?
Right.
But if you're playing with other golfers who now know you and you're part of the tour, you're probably going to go back and say, hey, listen, guys, I didn't realize it was out of bounds. I got to play, because you don't want to look like an idiot in front of the people you're playing with.
Yep.
So my hope is that there's a little bit of that kind of community, that peer pressure to say, guys, if we all do the right thing, we all benefit. And let's just not be assholes.
Yeah. And that's really what it comes down to. And, I can say out of all that, I didn't see that when I would play. Like I really enjoyed playing like by myself. Cause I play music and all that other kind of stuff.
It's fun playing golf by yourself.
Yeah. It's great. It's like my therapy. And, I've got paired up with a couple people this year and, I got there late. I got to the tee box and, they kind of, it's funny because again, I'll play with anyone. It doesn't matter. I usually play up or I'll play down. Right. So if someone's really not great, I usually play not great. If people play better, I end up playing better. But I got to, matter of fact, I think it was at Letterack. I got there and it was just like kind of a rush off the tee. And there were 2 guys playing and I got up there and I'm like, oh, I played there one time in a tournament, but we got cut off for weather. And I didn't know how to play the course. I didn't know, I was just in a rush. And I went out and I think I scored really well in the first couple holes and these guys ended up being really good. They ended up being very helpful and they played there a lot. So, you get that, that knowledge as well as, really meeting new people who are just out there trying to do the same thing you are. So, but really good. So can you get me on Golf Mills? I've been trying for years to get on there. We used to drink in a Renaissance before it was the Renaissance.
So it's one of the few private courses that I have not had an opportunity. I say that few, it sounds really super douchey to say it that way.
That's okay.
I've not played there. The funny thing is, and I pride myself on being really good with remembering people and names. So when I worked the sports apparel company, I told you I moved in with my parents to start the business. I had no marketing budget. I was 24 years old. I just went and hustled the parking lot at Citizens Bank Park in an Eagles game.
Yep.
So like I saw a lot of the same people over years because I was slinging t-shirts to them. So like you had to know who they were and they would invite you in, they'd give you a beer, they'd buy some t-shirts, right? So I've always been prideful about that. We opened the brewery and if you're listening, please be listening. The chef at Golf Mills would come in and have beers and I can't for the life of me remember his name.
Okay.
And I really wanted to when it started. I was like, I wish I had that guy's name or his card because I could at least go over there and be like, hey, I know so-and-so. I haven't played there.
Yeah, that is so that's like the one course in this area. Like I volunteered at Marion for the Open, which was cool. Matter of fact,
that whole week,
it was cool. But like I look at that course and I'm like, it doesn't look fun to me. It looks too hard. Like if that makes any sense. Yeah. But there's 2 here that I want to play. And my number 1 is Aronimink. I would love to get on there. Matter of fact, I think a couple years ago, I sent the head pro. I said, look, if there's any chance of me getting on there, I said, I will pay you money. And he goes, I would love to do that, but I can't.
Yeah.
And then the pro, I think one of the pros down at Golf Mills, it's a woman, and I think somehow I saw her on Instagram or something like that, and I was like, look, I have no shame. I have no shame, Dan. I will ask anyone, because the worst thing they could do is say no, right?
Right.
But
it's a good mentality.
Yeah. So what are the are you willing to share any of the big events for this upcoming summer season? I guess the regular season, because right now you have the indoor season, right?
Yeah, so the winter tour started 2 weeks ago, and that's been great. It's been really fun. We've got a lot of new people who joined, and if anyone's listening who wants to join for outdoors, if you didn't join last year and you joined the winter tour, it's still only $25, and you can roll that number or that money into the summer tour, and you also get to keep that gin number. So we've got 4 area sims. It's real cool. The 2022 schedule, we have grown from a 6-month tour season to a 7-month tour season. So it'll start April 1st. And instead of the 24 events we had last year, we have 44 events this year. So I'll do the math for you. So there's 30 weeks in the season. 14 of those weeks are double event weeks. So we'll be playing 2 tournaments concurrently, basically from the weeks in between Memorial Day and Labor Day. 3 of those events are going to be hosted at courses in Delaware, maybe a couple more as well, doing a little Delaware swing. We'll have some courses in Berks County. We've added a bunch of new courses for this year, Chester County, Delaware County courses, in addition to a couple in Montgomery that we didn't have last year. We're basically covering all of our bases. So the meat and potatoes of the tour season is going to be great. We've also got, from a private club standpoint, Philmont Country Club is hosting a tour event. So rather than being a one-day event, it's treated like a public club for us for that week. So any tour golfer is going to be able to play Philmont, which is, if you haven't played, it is an incredibly fun track.
Right.
Very challenging. The greens are fast as anything. A lot of fun to play that course. We also, through the partnership with the Golf Association, we're going to give, basically there's 2 memberships this year. So there's a $50 membership, which is our base membership. It's the same as last year in terms of the gin number and the gift card to the brewery, but there's a whole other slew of perks, and I'll outline them. You'll see them on the website, but a lot of our partners are offering a ton of really cool things. And then there's a premium membership, and the premium membership is $150. There's a limited amount of those. The premium membership is going to get you access. Yeah. Well, listen, this is the cool part. We, through our partnership with the Philadelphia PGA, we participate in their pro-ams as a sponsor. So we are offering 48 slots to those pro-ams at no cost. It's included in your membership. So you'll get 18 holes of golf with 2 other tour golfers.
Where's my credit card?
I'll give you my little swipe through reader here.
Got it.
But you'll get to play an exclusive private course with a PGA, Philadelphia Section PGA Pro, 2 other tour members. It includes your golf, your cart, your food, and your drink for the day. Perfect. So there's a limited amount of those, but those will be great. And then also through our partnership with the Golf Association, because we are a member club of GAP, we have access to the member play days. And there's 35 of those throughout the course of the season at private clubs in the area. Those typically sell out in 7 to 8 minutes. We're getting a chunk of tee times reserved for the Workhorse Tour for every single event. Nice. So that'll also be included in a premium membership where you'll be able to get access to those events at private clubs. Which is great. So there's going to be, plus we'll have member one-day events like we wanted to do last year. So we'll have a bunch of our private course partners. So TLDR, ton of private club access, best public clubs in the area. Just play a lot of golf, drink a lot of beer.
So now I understand why Matt is so busy.
We, last year when this launched, it was basically just me. I had an operations manager who worked with us for a couple of months. She decided it wasn't for her. So I basically ran this project solo until Matt came on board. This year, we now have, in addition to Matt, another full-time ops manager, a full-time sales rep to do the beer side of it. It's grown very quickly.
Man, this is so exciting. It's exciting to hear the story, but, I think for me on the tour piece, I was part of the inaugural season, right? So I'm only going to get to see it get better and become more robust and more, this is a format that, I would hope that you could somehow kind of lock down and sell and kind of franchise out, because this is something, you know what I mean? Like, This is the way it's done. And again, I'm like geeking out, like fanboying out, but you guys really have your shit together. And that's important for people, especially now. Like, everything's been so screwed up for so long. And you guys are offering, a product that's top notch. You're off, and by product, it's not only the beer, but it's the experience, it's the golf, it's the, all these different things. And you're really going out there and networking and making it better for people. And golf is like at an all-time high now because well, I guess like it was back in the I guess when Tiger was like at the top of his game, but now people know that you couldn't go inside. So what do? You go out, right? So that's you guys, you and your team were very smart to go out and do that. And to me, that is what excites me the most about having these conversations, because maybe this conversation will help someone else to say, you know what, I have this idea, let me go out and do it. If Dan can do it, I can do it, right? So,
oh man, I don't mean to interrupt you on that, but like,
yep.
To me, that is the holy grail of these type of conversations about entrepreneurship in general, which is, I hate the cliche, like life is short, blah, blah, blah. Right. But the reality is I talk to so many people who are stuck in some sort of dead end job that they never liked. Right. And it's not even like they're doing it for the pay solely. It's not like, oh, it affords me a lifestyle because of what I make. People do shit that they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is you are not forced with that option. That doesn't mean you should just go out and start your own business.
Right.
The truth of it is it's really hard.
Yep.
It takes a lot of support from your spouse, or if you're single or young, it takes a lot of your time and energy. It takes you away from other stuff. But the reality that I look at is that I've chosen a path for myself, and as a result, provided an opportunity for people within the company and offered value to folks like yourself who enjoy connecting with it. And I wouldn't trade it for anything, as stressful as it can be at times. So I hope that anyone who is listening, who is passionate about entrepreneurship, is if you are really thinking about doing something, take a step back, put it on paper. What do I need to do? Where do I want to be? What do I need to do to get to that point? Who can I talk to in my existing network? Who can I reach out to as like here's my, what's the word expression I'm looking for, but like, who's my, my golden ticket? Who could I reach out to blindly and they'll give me some advice or some time? And you'd be surprised. Like,
I mean, so I look at it like that, from a mentorship point of view, right? So, a lot of people, I'll just go back to, that same kind of mentality. The head coach, Mike Shannon, and I, for our Legion team, we coach because we don't coach because of baseball, right? We coach because we want to make sure that the young men who come through our organization know that they have someone that they can call at any time, number one. Number two, that, if you work hard enough, you can achieve anything you want, right? So you might not have to be, the number one guy at a company. You could be the number 4, 5, 6, or 7 and have like the most amazing career. But you have to be in a position where you like what you're doing, right? And if you don't, and you don't have the passion for it, like I know it, like for me, I'm a purchasing guy, right? So I love to buy things. I like to make sure that the right stuff is in the right place at the right time. Like I geek out on that stuff, right? Like a data nerd. And I hated math and I hated numbers through school. But when you really put it down, it's like, okay, I love manufacturing. So that's why I'm super interested in how you guys do things. And, it's like all, different batches and different ideas. And I worked with R&D people, and they're like the nerdiest people, but they are the most creative people. I mean, I work with scientists and it's just been amazing. But, to your point, that's one of the reasons, like I've had musicians on here, and you may or may not have listened to any of the other podcasts, but like some of these musicians that I've met in Nashville, like they'll call me and they're like, John, you coming down to Nashville? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, oh, let's go play golf. Like, when are you coming down this way? Or, hey man, I'm having a concert up there in Philly. Are you going to come? And like, it's those kind of connections, like realizing that there are really good people out there and people that are willing to help you. Right. So you didn't have to come on here and talk to me. I reached out, and, I'm very thankful that you are, because I think your story, number one, is great. I hope that people listen to this and go enjoy your product at the tap room or gets product delivered. And by the way, is it just local delivery? Can you ship it?
We can't. So we're not doing a delivery anymore. The restrictions have tightened, both from an insurance and it's all the fun stuff of small business that I told you to get into. This is where it gets really exciting.
It's crazy. We can regulate our way out of all the fun stuff and all the things that really matter.
I think, what you said a second ago about people, right? Like there's good people out there willing to help. And like, again, anytime someone asks, and I was thrilled, I'm always happy to chat. This has been a really fun conversation. And I'm sure you and I will go play golf next year and we'll drink some Miller
100%.
Lights.
Yeah.
We'll drink Miller Lights. We'll drink.
No,
Workhorse
we're not.
Brewing.
We're drinking. Was it that? And I'm terrible with these names because I speak like a true person from the Philadelphia region. Is it
Sure.
the Hells?
Hellas,
Right?
Yeah.
That
So we
was absolutely delicious.
Well, we changed it.
I brought it home. Yeah.
Now it's called Golden Lager because no one knew how to say it. So
Okay.
That's easier that way.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like the reality is like, yeah, so we will develop a relationship, we'll go play golf, we'll have a good time. And if I can ever be of assistance personally or professionally, like my door is always open. And that's not just to you, it's anyone who's listening. They got a question, they want to hit me up, let's do it. Because, again, with entrepreneurship, it is relationship building. And some of those relationships, there's a tangible focus of, I need to find a way to make the business better. I need to generate revenue. I need to get an introduction to someone else. But the majority of those relationships are because if you treat people well, whether it's a customer at the brewery or a business partner you're working with, or someone who asked me a question about the golf tour, or someone who works at my kid's school, if you treat people decently, you're going to get that back in return. And I find that some of the best relationships I've had on a professional level have started, maybe it's on a golf course, just playing with somebody, right? Not with any intent or purpose to sell something to them or to have them support the brewery. It's just because we got along as human beings and they wanted to support what I was doing because they liked me and I liked them and wanted to support them. Like it's just be a good human being.
Yeah. And that's, surround yourself with people, the good people. And, you clearly have surrounded yourself with like-minded people, right? So I love to see people win. And Dan, I can tell you and everyone on your team, because I don't look at things as levels. Like you're a co-founder, that's great, but you're still part of the team, right? So you're out there trying to make the best decisions that you can in the role that you're in. And I think a lot of people forget that, from time to time and realize that, I hear a lot of people say, I'm just a cog in the wheel. It's like, well, without that cog, this whole shit don't work, so you have to go out and do the best job you can. And, so last thing I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
Do you, and maybe there's a conversation for you, Matt, and myself, are you guys interested in hosting a long drive event? Like a legitimate 100% long drive event for amateurs and maybe even for professionals? Are you guys interested in that?
100%. So a couple things. Part of the reason why I love the tour concept is that there's many different thoughts of how golf grows as a sport, right? There's the traditionalist side of, we just need to get more people playing 18-hole golf. They need to join courses, they need to play tournaments, et cetera. And that's great. I love that side of golf. It's how I started playing golf. It's fun. Then there's the complete opposite side of, like, we partner, one of our best partners, and shout out to all of our Sims, because Play Around Golf, 5-Iron, X Golf, these guys are all doing amazing things. But the simulator world, where you're bringing in novices who've never played the game, maybe they're coming in for a corporate event, they're coming in for happy hour, they just walked by it, like, what is this? They're going to drink a couple beers, watch sports on TV, and swing a couple golf clubs. That might be their first touch point with the game. It could be similarly going to Top Golf and just playing a video gamification version of golf. It doesn't matter how people get into the game. There's so much to be, not just taken, but so much you can enjoy and be part of when you play golf. With the tour, the idea is any way that I can bring more enjoyment to people's day-to-day lives through the game of golf is something I want to do. And watching guys go out and hit bombs, hell yeah, sign me up.
I will tell you this. So there is a market for that here in the Philadelphia area. The problem has been, and I used to compete back in the day. I'm an old guy now. I'd rather be on a par 3 with a bucket of balls than, whatever. But, one of the things, this was a hotbed for years. And then all of a sudden it went away because the driving ranges couldn't hold the distances.
Sure.
And golf courses weren't willing to shut a hole down for a period of time in order to have this event. I think with your connections and what you can bring to it, I think you can bring, number one, I think you can create an amazing event with people that I can 100% hook you up with, that already have a form. This thing is going to get thrown out of the window.
Long drive, shorter mics. That's
right. Yeah, exactly. Well, I need a proper setup is what I need. But I also believe that, with your marketability, you can bring, I don't know. I think the golf, the long drive, and the beer thing, I think the long drive can would be a great catalyst for some other things, especially with like exposure, right? So I don't know how far you guys go, where your shipping points are, if you have distribution anywhere else other than here. And that could be for another conversation, or I could just look on the website, I'm sure. But
I'm here. I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, but I think, long drive, there's some guys I know. I had Ryan Reespec on here. He's just a savage long drive guy. But they just had their long drive world championship. And it was out in Mesquite again, and they took it back. That's kind of like the holy land for long drive. And so they have this professional events, and I'll send you this information.
Yeah, please.
But they also have what they call an amateur long drive. And it's they have amateur long drive, they have like extreme long drive, and they have like all these different, I think the professional one's called the Professional Long Drivers Association or of America or something. But if you ever heard the guy Kyle Berkshire, Kyle Berkshire, right? So he was a champion, and Bryson was out there and competing with these guys.
Oh, I watched.
These are the greatest guys, like legit, the greatest guys ever. And there's a chapter in the Mid-Atlantic that covers all the way up here to Philadelphia for the ALD, Amateur Long Drive. But we'll try to get something like that together. But I think it would be a win for you guys for sure.
Yeah, I love to. We actually have a guy on tour, Russ McLarnon, who participates in the amateur long drive thing.
Okay.
He's done a couple events at some of the sims this offseason. I know that we're supporting him in that. And he's also like Kyle, he's got a little bit of a nice mullet flow going on.
Yeah. These guys, they're all really good guys. And, I can get you in touch with almost any of them. I mean, I haven't really competed since, I don't know, maybe I think I did the East Coast Classic in like 2012 or 13 or something like that. But
dust them off, bring it back.
Yeah. Well, you know what? So I have a long drive setup coming to me. I had just got a couple clubs sent to me. And shout out to Moby, Matt Ellenberg at Shark Attack Golf. He now he owns Yeti Golf as well. And he has his own golf shaft company called the Reapers.
Okay.
And he has some really great products. He's a smaller guy. It's just him running the show, and just really good people. And Matt and these guys from Myrtle Beach, Brian Steffen. He's one of the guys that were involved in the ALD. So I'll get you guys connected.
Awesome.
And I mean, look, who knows? You could end up taking, you could have tour events up here, and I don't know. There's a ton. You guys are way smarter than I am when it comes to this stuff. But I like to put people together, and I think you talking to them is going to make some really crazy magic. I do believe that.
Well, I appreciate that. Also, don't give me too much credit, man. I'm basically just playing golf and drinking beer, so not too crazy.
The shit that you just told me is like I mean, it was great last year. I'm not going to lie, but what you're telling me about what's going for 2022 is just you're taking it up several notches. And I, again, for me, someone who experienced it, it was great. I'm really looking forward to 2022 and playing these different courses and, going out and beating some people.
Yeah, man, it's going to be great. We're really pumped. And, obviously anyone who has not participated, who's listening, who wants to, we'd love to have you on board. And I mean, golf for this, it's like you meet new people on the golf course, and then you have a new group of friends. And so that's what we're hoping to do more than everything or anything next year, is really grow the community, have these socials at the brewery, get everyone together, and have a great time doing it. All
right, cool. Well, look, the brewery piece, we're going to talk about that, because I would love to try to help you guys bring like a country music event there. I think it would be me. I think we can get some really good talent too.
Yeah. I mean, again, sign me up. We love music and beer.
Down 100%, man. I'm excited. 2022 is going to be a great year for you guys. Just continued success to you. I appreciate it. You and Matt, I'll send you some ideas. I'll try to keep them, reasonable, because I come up with some really off the wall stuff sometimes.
What'd you say earlier? Where someone says is no.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, but yeah, Dan, I really do appreciate you taking the time. I know you have, you're busy with the business, you're busy with the family and all that. But yeah, I mean, you have an invite anytime you want to come and talk about anything, something new coming up, anything, you want. My platform is yours.
Oh, thanks a ton, John. It was really great chatting with you. And as I said, let's definitely get out and play some golf here sometime soon. Join me in the winter tour for a round. If we do it in the spring, and congrats on fiance.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's been a whirlwind for sure. It's been a whirlwind. But yeah, man. So hopefully, I'll talk to you soon. Have a great holiday season.
You as well.
And we'll, who knows, you may see me over there, sitting by myself, just with a little flight saying, what was Dan telling me? What should I do with this?
It's the heels, right? The Hells?
Hellas. Is that what it was? Hellas?
Yes, sir. You got it.
Yeah. So again, I really appreciate it. And it's great to meet you. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Likewise.
And I'd like to be able to go out. And so what's your handicap?
I'm an 11-2 right now. My goal, I think it was 14 at the beginning of this year. And my man, Dave Milkowski at Golf Tech, had me change my swing entirely, which is great because I was coming over way too steep. I was definitely more of a sweeper. So now I'm much flatter swing plane, getting my hands out in front, but man, it is a work in progress.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So what's your goal to get to next year?
I mean, my ultimate goal, which is how I look at this, I want to be a scratch golfer. That's where I want to be. I want to play golf the rest of my life and be very good. And also, I mean, I enjoy it. I used to be like everyone, I think, when you play, having the mental challenge of like, now I just love it. It's very rare that I get upset on the golf course. It's better than anything else aside from being with my family. So I love it.
Got it.
My goal, I think, realistically for next year is like a 7. I want to carve another 3 to 4 strokes off.
So look, we'll go heads up, and whoever wins gets a beer from the other guy, because I'm right around him at 11 right now. So my goal for 2022 is to be between a 5 and a 7.
Okay. Well, we are going to sync up quite nicely then.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun for sure.
I love it.
But all right, man, look, I really appreciate your time. Again, everyone, this is Dan Hershberg from Workhorse Brewing Company and the Workhorse Golf Tour. I'll have all the links and all that other kind of stuff. Do you want to just kind of say what your socials are and all that for people that are just listening?
Yeah, so for the brewery, Workhorse Brewing Company, pretty much across the board, Workhorse Brews on Twitter. You can find us at workhorsebrewing.com. For the tour, workhorsetour.com, Workhorse Tour on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. There's plenty of stuff in the brewery that's available. And jump on the website. And if you do have any questions, you can email us, golf@workHorsebrewing.com or Dan@workhorsebrewing.com. I answer everything. So don't be a stranger.
He really does. I think I emailed you a couple of times like, hey, my score didn't go in. And you're like, yeah, no problem. I got it. We're good. And last thing.
Yes.
If you have any reads you want me to do on here, I'm more than happy to promote you guys as much as you want. If you have
appreciate that
audio you'd like me to insert here, I can do that. It's great. Like I can do whatever I want.
Sweet. I have some.
I can dress how I want. I could wear a hat. I could. Whatever.
Yeah, let's think about that hat. That could be fun. I've got some good 30-second reads from my man Sean Brace over at Fox Sports did for us that we can use. But just tell your friends. That's it. Tell your friends, bring them out. Let's play golf, and that's the best way to grow it.
Perfect, yeah, man. I really appreciate your time. And
thanks, John.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Be well.
Thanks, Dan. All right, buddy.
Cheers.
All right, bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Bumbling Yeti podcast. Have an idea for a future show or guest? Hit us up on our socials @The Bumbling Yeti or email at thebumblingYeti@gmail.com.